We'll start off with the introductory prayers on page 1. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjnanchalape Chakshuramitamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Savijatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Gopesha Gopika Radha Radha Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurani Radhe Vindayeshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Pitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, text 16. Translation. Bahiratasya Bhutana Acharam Charame Vacha Sukshmatvat Tadavigyayam Durastam Chantike Chatat. Translation. The Supreme Truth exists both internally and externally, in the moving and non-moving. He is beyond the power of the material senses, to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Text 17. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva chastitam bhutapatre chatajyeyam grasishnu pravavishnu cha. Translation. Although the supersoul appears to be divided, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and envelops all. Text 18. Jyotisham apita jyotis tamasa paramuchyate jnanam gyayam jnanam gamyam dedi sarvasya vishtitam. Translation. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge, he is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Text 19. Iti shetam tajnana yeyam chotum samasata mapvata eta vidyaya matbhavayo papadyate. Translation. Thus the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. Text 20. Prakritim purusham chaiva vidyanadi yubhavapi vikaramscha gunamschaiva vidhi prakritim sambhava. Translation. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. Text 21. Karyakana kartitve hetu prakriti uchite purushasam dukhanam bhoktritve Translation. Nature is said to be the cause of all material activities and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. I just want to say something on text 21, that nature is said to be the cause of all material activities and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyment in this world. So, what I can understand from this is that Krishna is saying that nature goes on, and it has so many causes and effects, like so many things happen in material nature. But when Krishna says that the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments of this world, what he means, I think, from what my logic is gathering, is that it all depends on how we look at things. And this makes sense because a lot of the greatest sages in the history of the world have looked at curses as blessings. And a lot of the people who end up being dissatisfied with what they got at the end of their life, they saw it in a bad way. So like there's an example in the Srimad Bhagavatam of Chitraketu Maharaj, and what happened to him when he was when he was when he got cursed by Parvati or Durga. Basically, what happened was that Chitraketu was flying around in his spaceship, which was basically a city that could fly, and he was flying all around the earth, and out of nowhere he came upon Lord Shiva and Parvati talking to an assembly of sages, and Parvati was sitting on Lord Shiva's lap, and Chitraketu Maharaj thought it was kind of amusing that Lord Shiva is supposed to be the most austere and most the biggest ascetic in the entire universe, but but he looked just like an ordinary person with his wife on his lap, and it didn't look good. So Chitraketu Maharaj kind of pointed that out, and out of playfulness and what's it called? Out of playfulness, and but Parvati didn't take it as a joke. She took it very seriously, and she ended up cursing Maharaj Chitraketu because he's become a demon named Vridvasura. So, but the interesting thing is that Chitraketu Maharaj, he didn't see this curse as what it was, a curse. He saw it as a way to continue his service to the Lord. And so he took that he took that as a blessing, that he would be able to remember the Lord a lot easier. He was in such a cursed position. So yeah, this is one example of the living entity is the cause of various enjoyments in the world. So nature's cause of that. Something happens, and then almost automatically a cause happens, and then almost automatically an effect happens. But the living entity is only the living entity is his perspective on the situation is what his perspective is what makes the situation either suffering or enjoyment. So Chitraketu Maharaj was felt like curse was a blessing, and it ended up to be a blessing because he ended up dying in a glorious way by Indra's thunderbolt, and so he ended up dying by Indra's thunderbolt, and in a glorious battle, he was actually winning the battle, but somehow or other he stopped fighting because he wanted to just go back to the Lord. So he told Indra just to cut his head off with the thunderbolt weapon. And an example of a blessing being a curse was, I don't know if this is right or not, but what comes to mind is Hiranyakashipu. He uh, he performed austerities for 60,000 years, I think, in the Satya Yuga, where people lived 100,000 years. And what he did was he stood on his tiptoes, and he stood there for 60,000 years. And he stood for so long that there was a hill, a huge hill a huge ant hill, and the ants had eaten practically all of Hiranyakashipu's bodily parts, and there was only a skeleton left there, standing on his tiptoes. So uh, after Hiranyakashipu, after he performed these austerities for 60,000 years, there was a fire coming out of his head, and it was so hot. It was scorching the heavenly planets. It was scorching the entire universe. And the demigods went to Brahma because they didn't know what the heck was happening. So they just went to Brahma and asked him, Lord Brahma, you're the most exalted person in this universe. You have all these mystic powers. You have knowledge of the absolute truth. You're everyone's father or grandfather, I should say, at least grandfather. So could we don't know where this heat is coming from, but for some reason it's scorching the entire universe. So can you please figure out what's happening? And so Brahma, they said that Hiranyakashipu, they knew what the cause was. They said that Hiranyakashipu was scorching the earth. And so Lord Brahma, he got on his swan carrier, and he went down to where Hiranyakashipu was standing on his tiptoes, and he saw that this huge hill of ants had eaten everything off of Hiranyakashipu's body. And what else? So Lord Brahma saw this, and he was so amazed that somebody could do austerities like this for so long, and he was pleased in a sense. He didn't. He was pleased, yeah. And so what he did was he took his loda that he carries everywhere, and he poured some of the loda water on Hiranyakashipu's body, and and Hiranyakashipu came automatically back to life. And Brahma told him that I'm pleased with you, Hiranyakashipu, because you've done so many austerities for so long. Now you can ask for me whatever you want, and I am obliged to give you whatever you want. And at first Hiranyakashipu said, make me immortal. But Lord Brahma, being a living entity and not the Supreme Lord, he said to Hiranyakashipu that I can't give you something I can't give you something that I don't have, because even my body has to die after so long. So everyone's body has to die, but you can ask for me any other benediction. And so Hiranyakashipu said, okay. Then I don't know all the details, but he said, okay, let me not die on the earth or in the water. And then let me not die by an animal or a human. Let me not die at night or in the morning or in the day. And then there were so many other different conditions that he has to fulfill. And Lord Brahma said, okay, yes, it's all granted. And you can have these benedictions. And so Hiranyakashipu thought himself very proud. as demons do, they think themselves very smart, very clever. They think that they've outsmarted the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Hiranyakashipu went around and he started tormenting everyone in on the entire earth and in the entire universe. And he had taken over Indra's throne, which was he had taken over Indra's throne, and what else? He was basically ruling the entire universe with an iron fist, and said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that even if Hiranyakashipu had lifted his eyebrows and laughed in sarcasm, the demigods would automatically flee in fear because they didn't know what he was capable of doing. They knew what he was capable of doing, but they didn't know what he would do because he was so unpredictable. I mean, the guy was always intoxicated with wine and just always in a terrible position. And he thought he was enjoying. So it came to a point where everyone was totally no. It came to a point where his son Sri Prahlad was born, and at 5 years old, Hiranyakashipu took his son on his lap and asked him, "What have you learned in school today?" And and Prahlad Maharaj, he said, "What I learned in school today is that whatever we have, whatever we know, whatever we do, and whatever we say, we should offer it all to the Lord Vishnu." And Hiranyakashipu was so upset about this. He got so upset that he pushed Prahlad off his lap. And he asked him, "Where did you learn these things?" And Prahlad Maharaj said, no.
Very chanting, remembering Dharmatrix and Vishnu Smarana. Remembering specifically Vishnu. During chanting, remembering.
Oh.
Yeah, not a verse.
Yeah, I remember it. Right.
Padasevam, Archana, Vandana.
Sakyam.
Right.
Atmaniveda.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah, Prahlad Maharaj said that we should engage in the 9 processes of devotional service to Lord Vishnu, and this enraged Hiranyakashipu, because his whole life he had been in defiance of Lord Vishnu because Lord Vishnu had killed his younger brother, and he just hated Vishnu with a passion. So when he heard that the son that made Prahlad literally means to make someone to be happy. So when he named Prahlad this name, it can be understood that he was the joy of the entire family. I think he was the youngest too of the whole Hiranyakashipu family. But yeah, so Hiranyakashipu heard this and he immediately kicked him off his lap, and he said, I want to know who told you these things." And Prahlad Maharaj said, no, Hiranyakashipu, I can't remember. But anyway, he got to a point where Hiranyakashipu was completely torturing his son. He threw him in a pit of snakes. He tried to have some rakshasas like kill him and eat him. He got thrown off of a cliff. He got thrown under an elephant. He got put into boiling oil, which is terrible. I don't know if anybody has gotten burned in the kitchen cooking something with oil, that burn is serious. And they put him in the entire vat of cooking oil. So Prahlad Maharaj was being tortured by Hiranyakashipu, and what do you, and Prahlad Maharaj wasn't being affected by it. So Hiranyakashipu was totally bewildered. He didn't know how someone could survive all of these terrible, all these dangerous, these fatal challenges that he put Prahlad Maharaj through. So Hiranyakashipu, he was so enraged, and he asked Prahlad, "Where do you get your strength? Who do you get your strength from?" And Prahlad Maharaj said, "My father, I get my strength from where you get your strength from, and that's Lord Vishnu." And that completely threw him over the edge. Hiranyakashipu was, he was, what was Hiranyakashipu? Anyway, he was just totally enraged. So he said, "Oh," and so what Hiranyakashipu did was he told Prahlad, like, "Is your God everywhere?" And Prahlad said, "Yes, Father, God is everywhere." And Hiranyakashipu said, "Is he even in this stone pillar?" And Prahlad said, "Yes, Father, he's even in that stone pillar. I see him right now." And he said, "Well, if he's in the stone pillar, then let him come out, because right now I'm gonna cut your head off with my sword." And then he smashed the pillar with his fist. And after he did that, there was a tumultuous roaring sound that cracked. I think it was said that it cracked the egg of the universe. It was such a loud roar. It put fright into everyone. Can you imagine just hearing a roar like that? I mean, even if we go to the safari into the African jungles and we see a lion and we hear him roar, that is very, very scary. So just imagine this is God, and God has taken the form of the most powerful animal in the entire world, and he has hands instead of paws. So what happened was he heard this deafening roar, and everyone was put into shock. And Hiranyakashipu, he looked at the stone pillar, and there was this creature who was 250 meters tall, and Hiranyakashipu was only 80 meters tall. And so he was looking up at this huge creature that came out of nowhere, and he immediately knew that this was Vishnu, and he said, "This is my opportunity to kill Vishnu now." So he jumped in front of Vishnu, and he tried to harm him, but Vishnu just caught him like nothing. And Narsingha just caught him like nothing. And Hiranyakashipu scrambled to get out of his grips, and because he wanted to fight. But Nrsimhadev, he let Hiranyakashipu, squirm out of his hands. And this actually scared a lot of the demigods, because they thought that Hiranyakashipu might be more powerful than Nrsimhadev. But, but he wasn't. So he attacked Lord Nrsimhadev one more time, and Lord Nrsimhadev caught him this time. He put him on his lap and bifurcated his abdomen. And this is Lord Nrsimhadev was an incarnation of Vishnu, specifically meant to kill Hiranyakashipu, because Hiranyakashipu had made so many conditions that he wouldn't die. But now he wasn't faced with the animal, he wasn't faced with the man, he was faced with the combination of the two. He wasn't killed inside or outside, he was killed in the threshold of the doorway. He wasn't killed at night or in the daytime, but he was killed at dusk, right before daytime turns into night. And so, Hiranyakashipu was completely beaten by Vishnu. even though he was the most intelligent, most powerful, the most fit to fight with Vishnu, still he couldn't even try. There was just no match. There was no match comparing Lord Nrsimhadev to Hiranyakashipu. So, this is a example of how a blessing can become a curse. Because if we're not careful with what we get, and if we don't acknowledge it, and we don't use it in Krishna service humbly, then that very blessing can become a curse. It's like, okay, so I remember before I came to Krishna consciousness, there was I had what's it called? I was from 10 years old from when I was 10 years old, from birth until 10 years old, I'd always been the chubby kid, around everywhere. And at 10 years old, I prayed to Krishna. I didn't know who he was at first, but eventually I figured out it was Krishna. That if he could make me have a nice physique, according to the standards of the Kali Yuga. So it took me about 9 years before I got to that point in my life, and I had a good job. I had women around my finger. It was ridiculous. And then I had a car. I had an apartment. I was living in California, San Diego, where there's no hot summers and no cold winters. I was living in the best place, in the best conditions, but for some reason I wasn't happy. And that now I realize that it was because I didn't have Krishna. And that blessing that Krishna gave me ended up being what made me feel so empty inside, because I had so many things, material things, but I couldn't fill the God-shaped hole inside of my heart. So, I was desperate. I wanted to feel alive again. I felt like I was I felt like a shell of a person, I had everything, but I had nothing at the same time. So I prayed to Krishna and asked him to take everything away from me so I could learn how to appreciate what he's given me. And not even like a month went by, and I got hit with schizoaffective disorder. Immediately when I left California because I had no money and I just didn't want to be there anymore. I went back home, and right when I got home, I was put into a mental hospital because I was having hallucinations and delusions. So that so-called curse ended up being the biggest blessing that I could have ever gotten in my entire life, because it brought me to read Prabhupada's books, associate with the devotees, and chant Hare Krishna. So that curse was the blessing that turned into a curse was when I got the physique that I always wanted. That when I got all the women that I ever wanted, when I had everything that I ever wanted, all I ever wanted, but I ended up being empty, a husk, a shell of a husk, and the biggest curse in my life, which was schizoaffective disorder, it brought me so low that I was able to. It really humbled me. It humbled me enough to question what I believed in my whole life. Like, is this? I was a Catholic before I came here, and I said to myself, "Is this even like real? Like, I'm suffering so much and I'm praying to Jesus Christ and I'm surrendering so much, but I still don't feel anything. I still feel horrible. I'm eating so much, I'm sleeping so much. I have a terrible life. And yeah, it was just terrible. But that curse, when I found the Vedic culture, it turned out to be the biggest blessing because I had lost everything. I lost friends, I lost money, I lost cars, I lost jobs, I lost everything. I lost people who I thought would be with me my whole life. My best friends, who said they were my best friends, who said they were my brothers, they left me. They left me hung out to dry, with no one to help me. I thought they were my brothers. I really did take what they said seriously, but they were nobody. They were nothing but materialists who didn't care about me if I didn't provide for them what they wanted. So even though I got everything taken away from me, everything got stripped clean from me, everything. Still, I found Krishna and the Vedic culture, and ever since then, I haven't talked to any of my friends that I had in high school, and especially now, I don't talk to any of them because now I know that if you talk to non-devotees and you try to, they'll just talk for trouble and they don't care about Krishna consciousness. They don't care about God. That's the problem. Nobody cares about God in this world. Everyone is, no one cares. Everyone is only out for their own self-interest. So, but they don't know that their self-interest is Vishnu. No one knows. No one knows that this is the highest goal that you can think of. And it's pretty it's far out. Everything got stripped from me, but except for my faith in something higher than myself. Uh, I had to lose everything to figure out that Catholicism, it wasn't the right path for me. I mean, maybe, and I don't think it's the right path for a lot of people because it's been twisted so much that it's not even a shell of what it used to be. So, yeah, just like having this, having this curse come upon my life and give me this greatest blessing. It's kind of like Chitraketu went back to Godhead after he turned to Vritrasura. Okay, so we can keep reading the text and translations. Thank you for putting up with my rants, and we'll keep going. Text 22. Purusha prakatisto hi punkte prakati janana karanam guna sangusya sadasajoni jamasu. Translation. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil amongst various species. Text 23. Upadrashta Muntacha Varta Bhokta Maheshwara Prabhas Paramatmeni Chapyukto Dehesmin Purusha Para. Translation. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Supersoul. Text 24. Ya evam vedi purusham prakritim chagunai saha sarvata vartamanupi nasabhuyo vijayate. Translation. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction with the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Text 25. Tyanatamani pashyanti kechit atman atmana anyasamkena yogena karma yogena chapare. Translation. That super soul is perceived by some through meditation, by some through the cultivation of knowledge, and by others through working without fruit of desire. Text 26. Anye tvemam janata Shudvanyebhya upasate Devi shanti tarantyeva Mrityum shruti parayana. Translation. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from others, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Going back to text 16. Okay. Text 16, translation. The Supreme Truth exists both internally and externally, in the moving and non-moving. He is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Now, I want to say something about this. It was interesting to me when I read this the first time around. I was looking at it and I read it again in my mind after I read it the first time. So I'll read it to you right now. So it says, the Supreme Truth exists both internally and externally, in the moving and non-moving. So this word right here, in the moving and non-moving. So that means that he's everywhere, inside of everything. That's why we can't see him, because there's so many things that are too big or too small for us to see. And Krishna is in each and every one of those things. He's not visible to our life. He's not visible to our eyes because he has all mystic powers. He can become smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest. So the individual atomic soul, the Jivatma, is 1/10,000th the tip of the hair. And the Lord is so inconceivably small that he can fit inside of that small spiritual spark that's 1/10,000th the tip of the hair. So I thought that was interesting. It tells us exactly where we can find the super soul it tells us exactly where we can find it. It's inside of ourselves and inside of everything. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought I should share that. So we'll read the purport. In Vedic literature, we understand that Narayan, the Supreme Person, is residing both outside and inside of every living entity. He is present both in the spiritual and material world. Although he is far, far away, still he is near to us. These are the statements of Vedic literature. Asino Duram Vrajati Shayano Yati Sarvata. And because he is always engaged in transcendental bliss, we cannot understand how he is enjoying his full opulence. We cannot see or understand with these material senses. Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand him, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness and devotional service can see him constantly. Now, I just want to pause real quick and say that one thing that what Prabhupada is, okay, I'll preface what I'm about to say with another statement that Prabhupada has said. So basically what happened is Prabhupada told one of somebody when he was alive, I heard this from another devotee, and it seems pretty reputable, so I'll just say it again. So Prabhupada told somebody that the purpose of all of his books is just to chant the holy name. And right here it's saying that one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness in devotional service can see him constantly. So so having in mind what we just said about what Prabhupada said about his books and seeing this right here, what can we come to the conclusion? It means that one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna consciousness, in devotional service. So chanting Hare Krishna while we're doing any kind of service that we're doing, whether it's book distribution, or whether it's sweeping, or whether it's mopping, or whether it's cleaning the dishes, or whether it's running a temple, or whether it's being a guru, or whether it's being a cook, or even working a job. Everything we should do, everything that we do, we should chant Hare Krishna. And I want to say this because I feel like it would be really helpful. One thing that I've noticed is that so Krishna consciousness is the natural consciousness of the living entity, right? So that means that everything that we do in the material world that seems normal, it's all in the spiritual world. So what do we do when we're bored, when we're doing something, working at a job? What do you do when you're bored, when you're working at a job?
Listen to music.
Exactly. So, and
here. Listen to music.
Oh,
so we listen to music while we're working. So, do you sing with it?
Oh, yes.
So, exactly. So, hearing that Krishna consciousness is the natural consciousness of the living entity, and seeing what it says here in the purport, that one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness and devotional service, we can come to the conclusion that if we sing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra while we're working, then that's perfect. That's what Prabhupada wants us to do, because we can't chant japa like Haridas Thakur. We can't chant 300,000 names a day, even if we wanted to. Even if we wanted to just sit and do japa all day, still our mind would take us all over the universe. So what Prabhupada is meaning by Krishna consciousness and devotional service is he's saying that, okay, yes, you do your service, but you sing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra while you're doing the service, and that will make you perfect, because then you're engaging in some practical work, and then you're also chanting the Lord's holy name, which is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. So the holy names is Krishna himself. So if we just chant these holy names while we're working, or while we're reading, probably not reading, but while we're working, sleeping, eating, I think that's all we have. But if we just do this while we do our service, then we can make some serious advancement. And I'm seeing it's really powerful. So just don't try to overthink Krishna consciousness. Just try to chant holy names by singing it, and try to keep yourself entertained while doing it. This is not a dry speculative process. It's a very dynamic. It's a dynamic force that everyone can participate in, and is beneficial for everyone who tries it. So yeah, I really like that statement. I love when Krishna talks. I mean, when Prabhupada talks about chanting, because it makes me so happy. Okay, so it is confirmed in Brahma Samhita that the devotee who has developed love for the Supreme God can see him always, without cessation. And it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 11:54 that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service. Bhaktya tvam yaya shakya. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Very nice class, Prabhu. I was listening down in the kitchen. Why don't you give class more often? That's awesome. Oh my gosh. You've been silent this whole time? Oh, Prabhu. You haven't been sharing your mercy with us.
I have no mercy.
You have got tons of mercy to share with us. You gotta get in class more often. That was awesome.
Yeah.
You did a really good job.
I just said what I had in my mind, that's about it. But thank you for
It was
the nice
awesome
comment.
job.
Thank you for that. Okay. Osmond, do you have anything?
oh, no, chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra how we can develop more enthusiasm rather than chanting as a chore. I will do like a chant down to 8 hours.
Yeah.
That's it. Yes, I gotta do it. Instead of enthusiasm, I want to do it.
Yeah.
People like her, you would use drowning. He's asking for help. There's enthusiasm. You want to do it. You want to do chanting, or do devotions.
Yeah.
Make the time. There has to be an enthusiasm, not to get to that point.
How do you get to them?
Enthusiasm.
Yeah, there's so if you just practice chanting like how I had not how we had just talked about earlier, by singing the Maha Mantra. You know, you have what's your favorite tune but to sing?
What?
What's your favorite tune to sing of the Maha Mantra? Do you like Ayendra Prabhu kirtans or Agni Dev, or do you listen to kirtans?
Yeah.
Okay. So just pick a tune that you really like and then sing that. And then over and over again, little by little, you'll see yourself changing. Literally, you'll see yourself turning into a brand new man. And the great thing about it is if you just keep chanting for the rest of your life the way that we discussed, you can go back home too. You just have to chant for the rest of the time that you live on this earth. If you just chant and do devotional service for that amount of time, then you can also go back to Godhead in this life. It's never too late. You just have to try to, you just have to put a little effort in. Not much, just a little effort. Singing holy names, that's all we need. Is that okay?
Yeah. You know, the devotee was the real enthusiasm with peace. Every day, he just wants to chant as much as possible.
Yeah.
That kind of enthusiasm. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, rather than chanting because I've been told by Maharaj and devotees, there's no choice, I gotta do it. Thing is gonna work. That the other. So you're doing it because you're told and you have no choice, you gotta keep it. That's the only thing you have to help you. So, which is fine, but then you have to get to a point where you're enthusiastic to just want to do it. It's gonna tap as much as possible. Like, remember Maharaj, what he said, that some of the Guru Maharaj used to try 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours.
Yeah, Jagannath Das Babaji or Kishore Das. Yeah, they would chant like 128. Lot of rounds. Right. Right. So
you know, need food, right?
Hmm?
When am I gonna work? Only,
yeah.
so, we have to that kind of enthusiasm. Right now is food for your soul. That's how it's food for your body.
Yeah.
So we have to that kind of enthusiasm. That's not good. I'm asking Krishna. Krishna, give me that enthusiasm. Then and I'm not chanting because I have to. But I said, sure, I gotta read.
Yeah.
I'm chanting because I want. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, doing Prabhupada's program is also very helpful. Waking up before 4 a.m., going to the temple, taking bath, coming to the temple and attending Mangala Arati, doing the japa program, Tulsi Arati, and Guru Puja and Bhagavatam class. This whole program is meant for us to be strong in Krishna consciousness. So if we feel like chanting is too much, just try to chant one round and then work your way up, and eventually you'll hit 16, and then you'll be able to come to the morning programs a lot more often. And yeah, that's all I can say is chanting is this is all the realization I have. Everything is falling into place from chanting.
Change, just keep on doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like I have all the answers, because I definitely don't, but I do know that Prabhupada said that, he has no, this is Prabhupada, by the way, Prabhupada said that he has no knowledge, he has no devotion. What he does have is strong faith in the holy name, and that's taking him everywhere. He made this entire society. I mean, look at all these acharyas that we have on our wall. Do you think any of us in the United States would have done any of this stuff, like given up our life of sense gratification, if we didn't think that there was something really potent in this process? I don't think so. Anyway.
You hear it, that was but.
Hmm?
Can you say that again about?
Yeah, Prabhupada said that he has no knowledge. I have no knowledge, nor do I have any devotion. But what I have is strong faith in the holy name of Krishna.
Faithful.
Yeah, faith is the key. Faith is the key.
That's what I want to do. He said that I have faith that the holy name is going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And that is the holy name given by his Guru Maharaj. So basically, faith in the holy name, faith in his Guru Maharaj, faith in the process that will make it happen, right?
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah. But you also have to chant the holy name. The first step in faith is chanting the holy name. If we can't do that basic thing, then we can't do anything. It's just too hard in Kali Yuga. It's just too hard.
Yeah. Even knowing first, sure, but do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Start just 3 only names. You must start with 4 rounds, 8 rounds, then increase. Faith.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Srila Bhagavad Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yeah, you better start giving class more often. You've been holding back on it. Word. That mercy. Something holding back all that mercy on? Oh.
Krishna mercy.